Now, a plane weighing over 200 tons, fitted with all the latest technological prowess and with 239 people on board, disappeared on March 8, 2014. 4 years later, there's still no answers as to where it went or why. An international investigation ended last year, having found nothing. A private one was called off just a few days ago. The wife and 2 children of our guest today were on board that MH370, Laurence and Ghyslain Wattrelos, along with 236 people gone, unimaginably without a trace. Mr. Ghyslain Wattrelos, you and many other families have spent the last 4 years looking for answers, but reading your book, which has just come out, the Flight MH370, A Life Turned Upside Down, all those 4 years of research, and it looks like very little, if any, information about what happened has been published.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, we don't know anything. We don't know more than 4 years ago. That's what's totally amazing.
And when you see this, because there was an international investigation run by the various countries, by Australia, Malaysia, international community, the US, that was called off last year. But since then, there was a private company, a US company, that said a no fine, no fee research. It started its work in January, and that's now been called to a halt. What do you make of that?
You know, you said it's a private investigation. Actually, I think it was a trick because Malaysia couldn't say, we have to stop that investigation, we don't know what happened, and they had to continue. So there was a deal done with that company to look a little bit further on the search area that they told us where the plane is. But I will tell you 3 reasons why I do not believe in that search area. That search area is defined by 2 things. One thing is military radar from Malaysia and Inmarsat data from satellite, UK satellite. Okay, those two proof has been never given to us. So I never had the proof of those 2 things, and even the judge working on this in France never got the proof. So first of all, there is no proof of those 2 things. The second thing is when a plane crashes into the sea, you always have floating debris. They never find any floating debris. They have been searching for years and years. They find debris on beaches, but no floating
Reunion
debris.
Island in Madagascar.
Okay, so it's not possible. So if you don't find floating debris, and they've been on that area since the 5th day or whatever, they didn't find any floating debris. If you don't find any floating debris in that area, it means it's not a good search area.
But the fact that they didn't give you the information, did they explain why? They can't tell you where the plane went down?
No.
And the ocean is so vast. I mean, there's very little we know actually about our ocean. We know more, I believe, about space scientifically than our ocean. Is it not imaginable that if a plane went down and can be buried, that it could be untraceable? Like the Boeing that went from Rio to Paris, that disappeared for over 2 years.
Yeah, but at least they found floating debris. They found hundreds of floating debris very quickly. Here you didn't find. And the last reason why I do not believe it's true, it's because if you look at the road of a flight, okay, those at least 7 countries and 7 armies should have seen that plane. I understand that if you switch off all the communication of a plane, then the civil radars will not see anything. But the military radars are made to follow ghost planes. And those 7 countries, they said, we didn't see anything. It's not possible. It's not possible.
Indeed, with those military bases in that area, it's probably one of the most surveilled airspaces in the world. You believe that potentially the plane was shot down, and that's why they're trying to hide the information on you?
Yeah, most probably the plane was shot down, yeah.
But why would that happen? I mean,
it
was a commercial carrier.
2 reasons. One reason is there is something on someone in the plane that should not land in Beijing. Yes. Or the other reason is you have terrorists in the plane that wanted to do another 11th of September somewhere, and then you had to shut down the plane. Because
one of the most confusing things with this case is they seem to not even be sure of when it went off the radar.
Exactly.
Wouldn't there have been communication between, the different airspaces? There were a number of pings given out, but they're now the ones in question by Inmarsat. Have they been able even to pinpoint the time or even when it started to go off route? It seems like it was pretty much from the start. Yeah, it's 1 hour after the beginning of the flight. Then they had no communication from the plane. And then we don't know. We don't know what happened. So now that the private company has pulled, is that the end of the search for this?
So for me, I never expect having the explanation from the official investigation. So it doesn't change anything to me that they are saying today, it's over, we finished, we didn't find the plane. We are sorry, families, but we didn't find the plane. So I never expect, because I know from the 5th day that they are lying to us, okay? Why I'm saying that? Because at the beginning, you have to understand that they launch a lot of planes, boats in the South China Sea, where the plane disappeared, okay, during 5 days. And on the end of the 5th day, the Prime Minister, we say to the press, oh, by the way, we saw the plane thousands of kilometers from here. Our military saw the plane on the other side of Malaysia. So how come?
At the same time, Mr. Wattrelos, in whose interest is it to lie to us, given that there's so many countries involved? It has to be a coordinated effort between Australia, Malaysia, the US and France, because, you know, you contacted the French. So in whose interest, under what? I
don't know, because if you believe that the plane didn't take that road, then there's not so many countries involved. If the plane just disappeared in the South China Sea, then there's not so many countries involved. And maybe those countries, when they are saying we didn't see anything, it's because we didn't see anything.
And indeed, over the last few years, I mean, you've had to deal with a lot of pseudo-informers, but also, it sounds in a way you're very much on your own, even for the French state. Do you trust the French state even in this affair?
I do believe now that in French states, they have something. They have information, but they don't want to give it to me. I think they know exactly what happened. I think some people knows exactly what happened. A plane cannot disappear like that today. It's not true. It's not true. It is followed by military radars everywhere. So they know exactly where the plane is. And I do believe now the French states know exactly what happened also.
So were your next steps to try and get them to tell you?
So the previous president told me, I don't know anything. I told him, I don't believe you. No, I'm trying to convince the new ones to say something.
Indeed, and there's also a new government, of course, in place in Malaysia recently. So let's hope more light can be shed on what exactly happened at that flight. Mr. Wattrelos, thanks so much for coming into studio to talk to us about it. Ghyslain Wattrelos there, whose book about the Flight MH370, pretty harrowing reading on the amount of different theories and stories that were put forward. Thanks so much for your time. Very quick reminder for you now of our top story here this morning. Migrants camped out along the canals of Paris have been removed by police forces. The second evacuation of its kind in just as many weeks. Hundreds of people have been living in makeshift shelters across the north of the French capital. And at least 25 people have been killed by a volcanic eruption in Guatemala. Lava sent flowing into rural regions. Rescuers struggling to reach homes smothered by the ash.